Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Cristiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Hello, all you total bosses out there. I am pumped up for today's episode, and before I get into that, I just wanted to start with thanking everybody who has sent me some feedback about my first couple of episodes. I really appreciate hearing from you guys. I love hearing what you liked about the episodes, what you're looking to hear more of, because, this is a journey for me and I'm here to go on it with you guys. So if there's more stuff that you're wanting to hear from me, please make sure you just send me a comment below or find me on Facebook or Instagram and send me a message there. It's Cristiano Green here as your host. So today's topic is, how did I get into coaching and doing this as my career? And I thought I'd really kind of want to talk about a little bit about what I did in my career as a total and how it led me to this place. So I guess for me, my very first job was working at Hungry Jack's. Well, actually it was Burger King, but they changed over to Hungry Jack's as well. And when I was working there, I did a bit of back of house and a bit of front of house, mostly doing the drive-through section and also back of house making the burgers as well. And I kind of did that for maybe about a year and a half, but just didn't love it, right? Wasn't really what I wanted to do at all, obviously. And I was in school. I started when I was just 15 years of age. So really just started out doing that. And it was a good first job, I guess. But I didn't last very long, a year and a half. But then I moved into working at Coles Supermarkets, which is probably one of the biggest supermarket chains in Australia, for those of you who aren't familiar with Coles Supermarkets. And they opened up a brand new store at a big shopping centre that was not far from where I was living. And so I got a job there and I was a checkout chick. And I got the job at the start of my final year of school. And so I was working there a couple of evenings after work and then on the weekend. And so when I was there at Coles, until I was 18, I was just a checkout chick. But when I turned 18, they offered me a position of being a supervisor there. So basically they wanted me to open the store in the morning. So stores would open at 6, I would get in at 5. And I would make sure that all the front desk was set up. So, the cigarette counter, making sure that there was the money was in the registers for the staff to start when the customers came in the store. So just making sure all of those things were set up properly. And I'd run the morning until kind of like the day manager came in. And then I would kind of be a mixture of jumping on the registers, also like supporting out people who needed some help. So that was what I did for probably maybe 6 months, while I was also kind of doing some different studies after school. So I started initially to do like a real estate course for 6 months because kind of my parents wanted me to continue studying and I didn't like it. So I kind of left that as well after 6 months. And then I went into doing like a business course, which I never actually did because, again, I didn't want to do it at all. So while I was there working as a supervisor, I kind of got opportunity to move up there and I became an assistant manager of the checkout department there. And I did that for probably 6 months until they opened a new store again. And then they offered me the position of being the store manager at that new store. So I kind of worked around as a store manager in about 5 different stores. Some good experiences, some really bad experiences with, certain managers actually bullying me. I actually got physically attacked in one of the stores by one of the managers. Luckily, that person got fired not long after, but that's a different story. I think I probably shared a bit more about that in my very first podcast. And then I decided that it wasn't the place for me. And so I decided to leave that place and take some time off because this was all around the same time that I was coming out. And so because I wanted to kind of focus on myself and really understand what it was like, and I had some money saved up because really when I was working, all I was doing was working and going home because I didn't have any friends, didn't have any life. So I had saved up a good amount of money that I could take 6 months off and just kind of enjoy myself. So I did that for 6 months and then really kind of found who I was a bit and started to really come to terms with who I was, and then kind of knew that I had to get back to work. And so I knew that I didn't want to get a job up on the Central Coast, which is where I was living, because I was often coming down to Sydney a lot, to see friends, to go out a lot. And that was kind of where my life was heading. So I was looking for jobs that were in Sydney area, like northern Sydney, in the city. And I had a few interviews, and I got a few options, and I decided to take a job at a travel agency that was working for Royal Caribbean Cruises and Celebrity Cruises. And so what I would do there is I would book in, I speak to people who wanted to go on cruises, and I would book them in on the cruise that they wanted, and then help them out with flights and help them out with travel arrangements, along with, different tours that they wanted to go on. So I kind of did that for about 6 months. And while I was working there, I really enjoyed it. I met some really good friends there. And but I left because I decided that I was going to move over to Canada, because I was actually born in Canada, and I wanted to go into a working holiday there so I could go back and kind of see a little bit about it and see if I was connected to the area, because at that time I wasn't sure whether I wanted to stay in Sydney to live, or if I wanted to go and maybe try out Canada, because I was born there and maybe I was, going to find some better connections then. So I did go on a trip there, and I was working in a, like a ski resort, and I was like a bellman. So I would take people's luggage to their rooms, help them set up, make sure that they knew how to work the fireplace, etc., and then kind of get tips and stuff from that. So did that for about 2-3 months before I ended up deciding that I wanted to come back to Australia. And then when I got back to Australia, I kind of got that job back again at the cruise company, working for Royal Caribbean. So they took me back. But I was partying a lot, and I was calling in sick a lot, and I actually got fired from that job because I was not really in control of how I was acting, I guess. So I wasn't acting like a good employee. So that was a good experience for me to realize that, I have to step up and really be a better employee, be a better team player if I really want to have a good career. So I kind of went on the dole for a little bit because I had to. And then I found another job, which was working for Westpac Bank in their call center. And this was around the time where internet banking was really starting to pick up, and they really needed to get some people to kind of call up their existing database and help them to understand about online banking, reset the password if needed, and then just really help them to figure out if, using online banking was going to be better for them, because they were trying to obviously make a difference for their customers instead of them having to come in or call up every single time. So that's what I did. And then when that kind of finished, they moved me into insurance, selling insurance, which, one, I wasn't really ever wanting to do sales, and two, selling insurance was probably the last thing I ever wanted to do. But I was in that, and because I wasn't performing, then they actually also fired me from that as well. So I got fired twice, one because I wasn't showing up, and one because I couldn't do something that they, changed my role for. So that was okay. And again, I went on the dole just for a little bit, but I found another job that I was at for about almost 5 years. So I was working for a company called AMI. Now, this was a company in Australia that was a sexual health company that helped men and women. So helped men with premature ejaculation and erectile dysfunction. And then for women, it helped them for women who struggled to have orgasms and stuff. So they had different medications. So basically what I did there was that we would have advertisements online or on TV. You might have ever some of those crazy TV commercials late at night with people playing the piano with their penis, things like that, silly things. But they would have those advertisements, and then the people would either call up or send us a text message. And so it was my job to speak to those people and book them in to see a doctor. So you could see a doctor face to face, or you could see a doctor on the phone. And so it was better for us to try to get them to go into the doctors, because then it would be easier for the doctor and salespeople to actually help the person face to face. But they had an option on the phone. So I got paid commission for booking those in, and it kind of started well when I was getting paid a lot of money. So it was an easy job. It was close to home, and I was doing that for quite, like I said, 4.5 years. But while I was there, I decided that, I just definitely didn't want to do this for a long time. And I started studying. So I was had to go to get a bridging course to get myself into uni because I needed to do that because it'd been a few years since I did studies. And so I did some courses so I could then do a psychology course at uni. So I got into uni and I did a year and a half of that. And I decided that I needed to leave that course because I didn't think psychology was what I wanted to do. It felt like I really wanted to help people. From my experience growing up and coming out as gay, I always knew that something I wanted to do was help other people because I had a really hard time with bullying and the whole experience, so that if I could use my experience to help other people, then it would really, be something that was fulfilling to me. So I kind of figured that out, and that's where I went. So that's why I got into doing psychology. But after a year and a half, I left because, like I said, the psychology just didn't seem right to me. The way that they wanted to do it just felt like it was outdated for the way that I knew that I could help people. And I knew that if I was to follow the psychology route, I wouldn't be satisfied because I know that there was always going to be a limitation on how I would help people. So instead of doing psychology, I decided that I left there and I'd go to a college, and it was an online college, and it was actually doing counseling. So I studied counseling, and I did that for about 3.5 years, for me to complete the actual degree. So I got my degree in that, and I learned so many good skills. And at the same time, while I was studying, I kind of left the job at AMI because, to be honest, they weren't the most reputable company. They were actually being chased after by the ACCC, and it was getting to a place where, like, if I didn't leave then, I was probably going to lose my job. So I took a redundancy that they offered to me and just went for it. And so I took a couple of months off there, figured it out, got a couple of jobs in bars just to keep me over until I found a job, which was my last job before I left here to go into full-time coaching. So I got a job at a company called Temple & Webster. And at the time, it was very new. It was a startup company. It was a small company. It was an online furniture and retail company. And I was just working in customer service. So I was doing like emails and phone calls. There wasn't many phone calls, but, they were a part of it. But mostly it was just emails. So I did that while I was still finishing up my studies. And then, there was a lot of stuff that happened there at that company. The previous manager of mine was also bullying me and the whole team. And I stood up. She ended up getting fired. But then I was going to leave that position, and they decided that they didn't want me to go, and they actually offered me that position, so leading up the team of customer care. And at that time, there was probably about 15 people in the team, and because I'd done managing before when I was at Coles, and I felt like, I was in a different place, I thought, well, why not give this a go? Because I had some, experience in it, and I also, had time at the company. So I thought if I could give this a go, I might go do that. So I decided to take that on, and I was there for an additional about 4.5 years. Doing that, and the team grew dramatically each year. The company was growing, 50, 60, 70% on for the first couple of years. And then when the pandemic hit, it was growing at like 130, 150% year on year. So my team went from 15 to, when I left, almost 300 people. So I had a lot of time there to utilize all the skills that I had learned, especially from my counseling, and to grow the team, to support the team, to be a coach for the team. So put into practice a lot of my time as a coach in that role, because I really had to coach people because everyone was new, and I had to really focus on trying to bring people up, because my kind of how I look at life and how I want to be as a role model is that I want to help people to get better. So if there's someone in the team that I believe has got potential, yes, they may not have the experience in that position, but I believe in them enough, and I'll support them enough and coach them enough that they can get there. And that's what I was known for at my company, was that I would bring people up and I would get them to the level they needed to get at, so that they could be really, really great at what they did, and really happy with what they did. So that was what I did for 4.5 years. And just over a year ago, when the pandemic started, it was about time for me to be ready to actually step into doing coaching as a full-time business for myself, because I wanted to do it for many years, as I said, but I didn't think I was ready, or I was afraid to do so many things with it. So I kind of held myself back, especially when I got into that big role at Temple & Webster. It kind of, overtook my life as well, and I was consumed by it. I was drinking a lot as well, because I wasn't fully fulfilled with exactly what I was doing. Even though I loved parts of it, there was a big part of the job that I didn't love. So I loved the coaching part of it. And so when I decided that, what was I going to work towards, was that I have all the skills as a coach there, but I know I can get better. So what do I need to do? And so I had signed up for a course, a coaching course with someone who I'd been following online for a long time, who is now my coach, Richmond Din. I went to one of his events and I joined his small program, which gave me like an online course to help me figure out understanding how I can run my business online on Facebook, and then also tickets to like a boot camp. And so, months went by as they did, and I just never started that course because I just kept feeling like I wasn't ready to do that. But in fact, it was just fears that were stopping me. And so, when I was working so hard and going through that crazy period at Temple & Webster when the pandemic was on, and I was just in so much pain from all the stress that was caused, because my team literally went from 100 to 300 almost overnight, and I had to fix that problem solely on my own. So, that stress really pushed me to a place of super pain, and I decided that the pain was not going to outweigh the fears that I was having to start my coaching business. So I decided to go to the boot camp that was on. They had it on, and it was the very last one I was able to attend because I had 1 year to do it. And so I went to that and kind of just got really inspired from there, and it started to open up kind of wounds that I knew were ready to heal. And from that point on, I kind of just started to put one foot in front of the other. After that, I got sent to a NLP course, which was deeper into a lot of coaching techniques, but also there was transformations that you have that you learn to give to your clients, but also while you're learning, you get to practice them. And so, I had an opportunity to have it done to me, some of the techniques, and it really actually helped me so much that I was able to take the next steps and really open my business properly. And so in July last year, I committed myself to invest in myself, and I signed up to the coaching mastermind that I am in now, which has really helped take my business off the ground, because before that, I had never had a paying client. And, I went on a journey over the next about 9 months. And I got to a place where I was making a good amount of money in the business that I was able to make a decision as to whether I was ready to then leave Temple & Webster and actually go full time in my business. So, I really had to think a lot about that because, it was a safety net. I was getting paid a high 6-figure salary to do that because of how big my team was and what I was responsible for. But I knew that where I was at with my business it was trajectory to do similar already while I was doing it on my side hustle. And so if I was able to then give my all and do it full time, how much better would it be? And how many more people could I help, Because, like I focus on the LGBT community, mostly gay men and women. I do have straight clients though. I have clients from kind of all walks of life, but those are the ones I try to focus on the most because I know that that's my story and my journey, and I can relate to them and they can relate to me in many ways. And if I want to help people, those are the types of people that I really chose to help. So when it was time for me to make that decision, I kind of had to really have a long, hard think about where I was at, where was my finances at, what was I going to do, where would I want to live, all of the things I wanted to do, because I really knew that on this journey, I was taking steps each day to move forward in a direction, and it wasn't just going to change me, my work life. It was going to change it was changing my identity as a person. So when I really decided to step up and be fulfilled in what I was doing, I decided that it was time for me to become like I said, the coach, start my coaching business. When I did that, I decided to give up drinking because I'd had a problem with binge drinking for over 10 years. It was time for me to give that up. And thank God right now I'm over a year sober. So whoop, whoop. I also worked on my fitness and I dropped, over 10 kilos of body fat and got down to a really happy level. And now I've been focusing again on building muscle. So I'm almost back to the same weight, but it's not for the body fat. It's now with muscle, which I'm really proud to say that I've worked on that as well. My relationships with people have shifted and changed. Some of the people that I will hanging out with weren't great influences on me, and vice versa. I probably wasn't being great to them. And so I've had to let go of some of those relationships, but then some of the other relationships in my life have gotten better because I am now sober and seeing life in a different way. I'm also working on myself and I'm inspiring other people to do that as well. So being able to change all those different areas of my life is something that I can say I'm truly blessed to have been able to done. And now, from being able to say that I was able to leave my career and be ready for that was another step. So I was finally able to let go of Temple & Webster as a business and also let go of it as my team, because I was really attached to my team, you know. They were the thing that were holding me there for so many years because I was, you know, I loved seeing them grow and I loved the growth that I'd seen in them. And that was a part of me that, like I said, that loved and made me want to decide that coaching was the right thing for me. And I had to do the right thing by them, by giving them the time to understand my decisions, have those conversations with every single one of them that I could, that were, you know, in my core team, and then allow me to try to help them on the next step of their journey, and also try to make sure that when I left, they would find someone really good to take over so that they were taken care of as well. And they would also get some fresh perspective, and that's their journey of, you know, being a leader and also being led. So that was for me an amazing experience at Temple & Webster, because it made me realize that I do love leading people and that I do want to grow my own team here. So building a business was also not just about serving my clients and also changing my identity and helping me feel fulfilled. It was also about growing a team and helping that team to be inspired and grow as well. And who knows, some of the people that I've worked with in the past, maybe some people that I work with in the future, because I have such great connections with them, that is a great opportunity for me. And so for me now, you know, my evolution as a coach and who I've been coaching has totally shifted as well. So, you know, initially when I started, I was coaching people on identity. And then I moved into confidence, and then I moved into mindset, and then I moved into performance and leadership. And now it's focusing really on helping gay men and women to really create a startup business that they can do on the side of their normal career and actually work on transitioning out of it. So something that people are inspired to do, whether that's coaching, whether that's another online business, I want to help those people to actually be able to create a business and make their transition out of it so they can then be fulfilled as a person, which then will change other areas of their life, because it's the identity as well that I initially started with, which is truly what it is that I still want to help people with, is because as soon as you shift that identity of how you see yourself and how you see life, you'll realize that so many more things are going to be happening for you instead of to you. And when you can start to shift one of those day by day, you can then come from a life of service and helping other people. So my job is I really want to help people. And if I do that, I need to help people help themselves. And for me, I need to help myself so that I can help others. So it's this beautiful cycle that we're going through. And it's inspiring for me to be able to put myself out there and allow other people to get inspired and do the things that, you know, I'm doing, or even more, or something different, right? So being able to help other people create a business helps them to create a new identity, which helps them to change their life, which will help them to change other people's lives. So it's a beautiful ripple effect. So that is the reason why I've gotten into coaching and why I love what I do, and why it's inspired me to also create this podcast and work on my book, because I want to focus on how much value I can add to people, and getting an opportunity to talk to you guys and share that vision with you is super important to me, because all I hope for is that I can inspire other people to really step up and really make decisions as to where they want to go in their life, and focus solely on making the step forward that they know they need to take. And for me, doing that via my coaching business, having a podcast, writing a book, it's just other areas that I can help connect to people, to my story, my journey, and hopefully inspire you to take steps forward on the journey that you are on. Well, that is what I wanted to share today. So thank you so much for listening, guys. I really appreciate it. And as always, open to any feedback you have. You can leave a comment on this podcast, or you can totally find me on Facebook or Instagram. My name's Cristiano Green, and I think there's not really many others. I'm probably one of the only ones from my own research. So find me on there, connect with me, send me a message. Love to hear from you, and look forward to connecting with you again on the next episode. Thank you so much, and remember, you've got this, and I've got you. Bye.